If you're looking forward to going to Germany and see a lot of chances and opportunities and goodies which await you here, but you have also shown that you're able to anticipate the challenges and the difficulties, and you have found solutions for it, how you could approach these challenges. And I think besides this very specific takeaway for specific challenges, is that you learned now a strategy of how, if a challenge comes up during your stay in Germany, how you can work together with your friends, with your group, and actually source those ideas on how to tackle it, from out of yourself. Because even among your group, although you are not in Germany yet, you already have a lot of ideas, and some of you even have a bit of research knowledge and so on, what can be done and what are good ideas for meeting those challenges and actually, hopefully, jumping over those hurdles and having the good life that you have been anticipating in Germany. So what I want to talk about, the points I addressed, is the preparations. How do you prepare the writing of an academic paper? Then I show you the basic structure for an academic paper according to the German standards. The solution, or the good strategy on how to get a paper done successfully. So, preparations. The first thing that you have to do is to choose a topic and a title. People think that's very easy, but it's not. Because in many courses, your professor will not give you a list of possible topics, but he will just say, like, you know your subject, now suggest what your topic would be. And then you have yourself to suggest, at least a lot of German courses, you have to suggest what your focus, what your interest is, what your topic could be. And this means even before you have actually started thinking about your writing, you already have to read, you have to think, you have to research, focus a topic, define a topic which is manageable to write in the academic paper you want to do, so a BA thesis, or an MA thesis. Think about how many pages should that thesis have, and are defined properly, you are able also to write a good research paper. So I always say, do that with much care and attention and take time. Don't wait until the last day where you have to really submit your topic and then say, I'm going to do this and that. But think about your topic in time so that it's manageable. Then you have to choose a writing software, and there are many different preferences. I, for example, like to work with Word. Other people prefer LaTeX. It's a question on where your preferences lie. A lot of people who use LaTeX claim that Word is easier, LaTeX is more difficult. But if you are in a technical subject and you want to continue with a master's or a PhD, and you have very different kinds of materials you want to present, you want to insert huge parts of whatever code and tables, it might be worth going through the initial hard days of working yourself into LaTeX. But it's a matter of preference. I mean, like, if you're good in Word formatting, you can also do everything in Word. The third step is that you choose or make a style sheet. You don't start writing before, not a single word, before you have not done your style sheet. Style sheet means, is it clear what it means?
Yeah,
you have a template, you define how you want to do your main headlines, subheadings, how the paragraphs should look like, how you deal with tables, how you deal with images. You decide that before you start to write, because it's a nightmare to have a text which is just, like written in an unformatted way, and then later you want to format it. It's really tough. So that means if you make a style sheet, it also means you should already have a rough idea what kind of material you have in your academic paper. Is it just text, or do you also have tables? Do you have images? You need to present code. You want to have, if you submit it as a PDF, there are also some ways of doing interlinkages and animations and so on. So know what you want to do, and then see how you find a style sheet solution. And this is also linked to the decision on your bibliography and citation tool. I recommend to use one for bachelor's thesis. It's maybe not absolutely necessary. On a master's level, yes, you need one. Because you have to manage many, many texts and resources and sources, and you have to cite them all. If you forget even one, you could be accused of plagiarism. That can cost you your degree. There are several ones on the market. EndNote, Citavi are the ones mostly used in Germany. For if you work with LaTeX, BibTeX would be the corresponding one. And your bibliography and citation tool is also actually a tool which can just help you to arrange and organize your knowledge. So it's not just that you keep the references to your books there, but what most of these tools can also do is while you're reading and you say like, oh, this is a quote I need to have in my thesis or in my paper, but I don't know yet where, in which part it will come, but I have a feeling it's important. You can just put it into that tool and you will find it later without having to decide where in the structure it would come. Yeah, so when you do your excerpts, when you do your summaries from your readings, you can already put quotations and notes into that tool. And then I also recommend to early on choose a citation style. Sometimes your department might give you a style guide. Yeah, that they say you please reference in the APA style or the Chicago style. These are the most widely used ones. Do you know what a citation style is? Does everyone know what a citation style is?
Yes.
Yeah? It means how to put your references. So in a text, whenever you quote something, whenever you get an information from another author's book or article, or from a lecture or an internet source, you have to put a reference where you got that sentence, that quote, or that paraphrase from. And there are different styles. In Germany, for example, many work with a citation style, which means that you put footnotes. Yeah, then you have these little numbers in the text and then in the footnotes below. This is very unusual for English papers because the American styles are rather like APA and Chicago style, that you have the author's name and then the date of publishing, you have it in brackets. And then you have in the end of your academic paper, you have a bibliography where through the name and the year of publishing, the text can be identified. Yeah. And then you have to choose and collect source material and references. So that means you go to the library, you go to the net, you get as much material as possible and evaluate what should come into your thesis, what is relevant, what is not relevant. And from the very beginning, feed your bibliography and citation tool, yeah, if you're using one. The worst thing is if you start just halfway and then you have half of your material in notes and like a stack of paper and the other half is in your computer, then you'll definitely mess it up. So say for a bachelor thesis, you might be able to work without that citation tool, but then at least when you choose and collect your source material and references, make yourself some kind of systematic where you put all the books and articles on. Yeah, at least then have a text document where you list those things, or have a very neatly written notebook. Yeah, that nothing gets lost. So my big recommendation here, which is difficult to read, but it's important, keep notes while you're reading, thinking, and talking about your topic. I have to say, when you're writing an important paper, like your final term paper or your bachelor thesis or your master thesis, you have to breathe your topic. Yeah, you have to live in that topic for a few weeks. And so while you're doing this, reading, thinking, talking about your topic, collect your notes neatly and preferably in your citation tool if you're using one. Keep that one. It's a huge resource and it makes writing in the end so much more easier and much faster. Yeah, because some people say, oh, there was this quote, and then they have this quote in mind, and then they may even find the quote but not the bibliographical reference, and then they start reading the same book, which they've already read twice for a third time, because they're just trying to search for the page number where they got that quote from. And this is costing a lot of students in the last days before submission, which are stressful enough. It's costing them a lot of time and nerves. So the basic structure of an academic paper. You should have a title page. You should have a table of content. You should have an introduction, a main text, which can have different kinds of formats, a conclusion, and a bibliography. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah? I think you know what these parts are. So, this is now not a must, but how to get started, I always recommend to do a few things before you actually write. First, make your title page. You know why? Because it's very reassuring to have the title page with your selected topic on it. It makes you feel very sure that, yes, this is the topic. I say that out of experience because I have a few students in my course, which I'm coordinating, who think they should rather change the topic 1 week before submission. Don't do that. Before you actually start writing, you make a preliminary structure. You can already put it in a preliminary table of contents. And because you should always have an overview over what your whole thesis should be. You will work on really like nitty-gritty details throughout the writing process, but you should never forget what the goal of the whole thing is and what the structure is. It helps you to avoid writing stuff, for example, into chapter 2, which, according to the structure you've given yourself, the title belongs actually rather to chapter 4. So organizing the information, organizing your argument is much easier if you already have a structure. And don't keep the structure too fixed. When you realize during your reading and your research that the structure must be changed, you change that structure. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But I always say you should always have a structure, no matter how often you change it, but always have one. And then I recommend that when you get started and you have that white paper on your screen, yeah, you have that white sheet and you already have your title page and you have a preliminary structure on it, that you make for each chapter and subchapter that you have defined, which is in your structure, to make a note on the content, what should come in that chapter. Yeah, you just write like a brainstorming, yeah, from what you have already read. You already keep your notes. Okay, in chapter 1, I wanted to talk about X, Y, Z. So whatever you know about X, Y, Z, you just write it there. Maybe you also already assign reading. Doing that, yeah, you clearly say, in this thesis, I research, I present, I examine the following, full stop. I do this in 3 steps. I do this by the following methodology, yeah. So don't be afraid to write this short and very clear sentences with your topic, but just at the margins. Sometimes it's a good decision to leave an article, a book, to keep it out, yeah? To not use it. But not just because you like the book or because the image on the title page was so beautiful, or you like the author because he or she is your professor and you think it's necessary, no. Yeah? And finally, when you're sure that the whole text is really as it is and that everything is according to your style and so on, then you update your table of content with the correct page numbers. If you have, for example, used Word or in LaTeX, you can program it that way. You can have an automated table of content that whenever, you change your text, it changes automatically. But in many softwares, this requires at least to press once this update button. Don't forget it. A lot of students forget it. And then finally, you have to create a PDF document for printing or online submission, which contains the title page, the table of content, the main text, the bibliography, and if applicable, a lot of German universities require something which is called a declaration of non-plagiarism, where you state and sign that you did this work on your own, that you did not copy, that you did not plagiarize another person's work. And in Germany, remember that this declaration really has legal implications. Yeah, if they then find out that you did plagiarize, it's not a small thing, it's a huge thing. Okay, this was basically the brief introduction. Important for your further study and work life, especially if you want to come to Germany. And the first thing is like the self-organization skill. You see how much self-organization it takes to prepare your time schedule, yeah, to get the right stuff, to evaluate what is necessary, what is unnecessary material, to organize that you get your software tools which you need, to organize your text and your arguments into a coherent structure. So that all are like skills which are kind of transferable skills also later when you want to work, when you enter the job market. Yeah, skills which your employer definitely wants to see and which you also really need for the higher education if you continue with your master's or if you want to do a PhD. So this is really like core competencies which you should think, like you will get around it by, like trying to find ways of doing your thesis in an unorganized way. I mean, like sometimes time constraints are there and you become practical but use the chance to really, go through that process of doing a well-organized thesis project because it really helps you throughout your life forever in the future. So this is really my recommendation, to use this as a project, to boost your skills, in self-organization, in time management, especially for your venture of coming to Germany. And I hope that for you there will be a very big piece of cake when you're coming here and a very, very low hurdle to cross. Okay, then. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen und danke.